I'm Juan Francisco, and I'm a psychic medium. I'm here with you to explore your intuition, the supernatural, and self empowerment. This is Third Eyesight. Hey, folks, and welcome to another week of Third Eyesight podcast. I am your host, Juan Francisco, in case you're new to the podcast. And just a heads up, or not a heads up, but just a little FYI, that I'm on Instagram, on Facebook, on TikTok. I mostly use Instagram and TikTok. I'm also on Spirit Social, and I am Juan Francisco Spirit on all the socials. You can book a reading with me on my website, juanfranciscospirit.com. Sometimes you'll see videos of me getting down at the bar or the club, but most of my content is about spirituality and psychic abilities. I really do want to ramp up my content about spirituality. More to come on that. I have been feeling really uninspired in the last year, honestly. I can't believe it's been since December 2024 that I had decided then to just not content batch, which means recording a bunch of content in advance to put up on the socials, on Instagram. And I haven't done that since then, really. Time has gone by really fast. And I feel like I'm finally ready to do all that again. But I want to really talk about subjects that I'm really, really passionate about, not just subjects that are going to be trending on socials. So why am I talking about this to you all? I don't know. But it's been an interesting month. I did my mediumship group reading, which that was, I think the last podcast episode was my mediumship group reading, the unedited recording of the group reading. Let me know what you thought about it. I'm curious to hear your thoughts on it. And in the last month, a lot has happened. A lot continues to happen around the world. And I wasn't quite sure what I wanted to talk about in today's episode, but I think I want to talk about that. I was going to talk about, tips on developing your mediumship abilities, which is all fine and dandy. It's fun, and important. But I also feel like there's just so much going on and we got to talk about it, right? So here in the United States, there's just been an uptick in anger and divisiveness. And, part of me thinks that this has always been there. The divisiveness has always been there. It's just been louder. It's been allowed to be louder in the past 10 to 15 years, and it's coming to a head, and we are in a state of reckoning. Now, how does this relate to spirituality? I just want to talk about energetic and spiritual boundaries regarding what's going on. And maybe you're not in the United States. Maybe you're in another country. Have a lot of listeners in the UK, for example. Have quite a few listeners in Asia. Hello to you all. But maybe there are things happening where you're feeling very stressed. You're feeling very anxious. Just because you're not in the United States doesn't mean that you're not feeling a same level of anxiety or even more anxiety than we are. The world is in such a state right now. And I was talking to somebody recently about how we are also in this phase of our culture where we are so tuned into everything because of social media, things have always been happening across the planet, always tragic things, sad things. But because of social media in the last 20 to 25 years and the internet, we are more aware. We are even more aware of what's happening around the world, all the pains, all the tragedies. And it's overwhelming because then we start to feel helpless. Like, what can we do? Right? And there's a benefit to being informed, total benefit. And there's a benefit to being aware of what's going on around the world. It hopefully intrigues or hopefully inspires us to have compassion for our fellow folks around the world. At the same time, there's so many systems and powers that control what happens, that dictate what happens in countries around the world, in cultures around the world, in markets around the world. I mean, financial markets. And we have a voice. And at the same time, sometimes we do feel helpless. We can't immediately help the situation, right? So I'll share with you how I've been coping with everything and dealing with everything. I was on a work call the other day, and it's an affinity group that I'm a part of at work, and it's a group that is being very targeted right now in the United States. And I got really angry. Someone in the group who is part of an even more marginalized sub community in this larger community that this affinity group is tied to started sharing how they're feeling, and I got angry for them. And I just got angry. I got PO'd and I got emotional. And so, as you're navigating what's going on, allow yourself to be emotional, allow yourself to cry, allow yourself to get angry. But it's what you do with those emotions that matters the most. Are you allowing yourself to cry at home? Are you going to lash out at your brother? Are you allowing yourself to get angry and write out your feelings? Are you going to be nasty to a stranger who has done like the slightest mistake at the grocery store? What are you going to do with that energy? Write a senator, protest, write your feelings down, make music, make art. That's the most important part. But allow yourself to express it, to feel it, to sit with it. And from a spiritual lens, I mean, it's all spiritual, isn't it? Ooh, hold on a second. I need to really. My microphone is going to fall off if I don't fix this right now. What a metaphor for the state of the world right now. Topsy turvy, just like my microphone stand. Oh gosh, it's not funny, but you gotta laugh sometimes, right? You gotta laugh sometimes. So, something that really grounds me, that really, really grounds me, is I remind myself of all the crap happening across the planet, all the crap happening in my home country. Humans have been through stuff like this before. I'm not the only person in history. I'm not living in the only society in history that has seen so much divisiveness. And this is where people may not like hearing this. And I'm going to say a few things in this podcast that people may be like, I'm shutting this podcast off. I'm unfollowing this podcast. That's fine. That's fine. I'm just sharing what I believe. Okay. And you don't have to like it. It's okay if you don't like it. When I think about why is this stuff happening? Why is this stuff happening to us? Then I flip the question, why shouldn't it happen to us? What makes me better than someone who lived 200 years ago who suffered from a famine? These things shouldn't have to happen. But when I get into this place of identifying as a victim, then it becomes all about things should not happen to me. That's easy for me to say as someone who is so privileged to live in the United States and have a roof over his head with food to eat. Could things be worse? Absolutely. Are things bad? Yeah. But there's a way to look, for me to look at this in a very balanced way. Like, I was talking to a friend recently who had lost a loved one in 2020. And I was talking to him about, I think I'm telling you this as a friend because I love you and care about you. And I've been holding this back from you. But I think that this person on the other side, they want you to move on with your life. You're going to grieve this the rest of your life, but they want you to live for yourself. You're looking for someone to replace him. You're looking for somebody to be like him. You're not going to have another him. You have to open up your heart, open up your life to new possibilities. And when you ask yourself, why did he have to go? Think about all those people who also lost their fiancés. Also, they lost their children in 2020. And know that you're not alone in that experience. We are truly not alone in our struggles. There have been people in history who have gone through worse, have gone through less bad. We're all in this together. It's almost like asking ourselves the question, what makes us so special that we should be totally safe from the world's problems? And this is where I sit with like a dichotomy of ideas. The one idea being we're human, we're living on this planet, and there are people that are crazy. So these things are going to happen to us. That's part of being human. And the other part of me that's like, well, it shouldn't happen. And I'm comfortable, as Juan Francisco, sitting with both of those ideas at the same time. This is what it means to be human on a planet that has seen crusades, inquisitions, the wiping out of a people, genocide, colonialism, racism, misogyny throughout its whole history. This is what it means to be human on planet Earth. And on the other end, these things shouldn't happen. We got to do something about it. And I'm comfortable sitting with both of those. And as a psychic medium, something that has always been resounding in readings is this knowing that on the other side it's total bliss. And there's a reason we come from bliss to come to this earth to experience what we're experiencing. As like I said all the time, like I say all the time, I believe everything happens for a reason. And when I get to the pearly gates, I'm going to ask God, God, why do children get cancer? I really want to know. Fine. Some souls have a limited quantity of time on earth, and that's the soul contract playing itself out. But why cancer? Why does it have to be something like cancer? I get angry just thinking about it, saying it to you, listeners. I have questions for God. I have big questions for God that I'm not happy about. And I think God will be very understanding when God answers me. And I will know the answer when I get there. But I know in my heart of hearts that in the deepest parts of my heart that everything happens for a reason. When I look back on my life, on all the shit that I've been through, the nasty things I've heard adults say to me growing up, the nasty things kids have said to me growing up, the nasty things I said to myself, trying to pray my own gay away, becoming a born-again Christian. And I think about how it's all led me to where I am now. And if it weren't for all that experience, I wouldn't have this desire to help other people who have been through similar situations. And I think who's better to help other people through those situations than someone who has gone through all that shit themselves and has learned to heal from it or how to start healing from it. So to a certain point, I'm thankful for everything I've been through. Do I wish it to happen to anybody else? Absolutely not. Not even my worst enemy. But it's gotten me to where I am. So if I see my own life that way, how can I see the planet's journey, humanity's journey, in the same way? There's been a lot of crap humanity has been through to get to where it is today. And many of that crap we've learned from and done better. And much of that crap we have not. Just like a human life. As humans, we learn from some things, we don't learn from other things. And so what I invite you to do in this time we're living in that's feeling very crazy, because it's feeling especially crazy because we are so connected to everything on the internet that's telling us everything that's going on. What I invite you to do, number one, limit your information intake. Unless you're an activist or a politician or the president of some country, limit your information intake. I personally am not ever gonna just cut myself off from the news, period. I know other people, other psychic mediums do that, other spiritual practitioners do that, and they have this like, the world doesn't affect my happiness. Okay, but you still are paying taxes, right? And you're still living on property that is not, I mean, it's yours because you bought it, let's say. You bought the property, you have the land, but you got to pay a water bill, you got to pay electricity. Unless you're totally off the grid on an island, you are not living in a vacuum separate from society. Whatever happens out there in the world, in your country, on the planet, is still affecting you, down to the air you're breathing and how contaminated it is. So this idea, in my opinion, and there's some psychic mediums I really love, but where I'll disagree with them, this idea of, oh, I'm a psychic medium, I'm a spiritual being, so I am not going to tune into the news of the world. To me, it is so blissfully ignorant. because I think we owe it to ourselves to know the role we have in society among our fellow humans. We've decided to, for those of us psychic mediums who are not living off the grid, we've decided to live in these countries as our homes next to other people who also call it their homes. So we should hold ourselves accountable for being contributing members of society because we are, by living in these societies, by default, contributing members. We pay the taxes, we breathe the same air. So we have a stake in it. But limit how much information you intake. We can be involved. We can participate in society, but also to create a boundary. So I have my news that I listen through a news podcast 15 minutes in the morning, Monday through Friday. That's when I get my most news. Sometimes they come through in headlines on social media, but very rarely, because this is where I set a boundary. I unfollowed all the news websites I was following on Instagram and Facebook. Well, not Facebook, because I don't use Facebook often. Instagram and TikTok. Unfollowed it. And let me tell you, it has improved my news feed on social media news feed on Instagram and TikTok. It's amazing. It's amazing. I highly recommend doing it if that resonates for you. And I just listen to my news in the morning, Monday through Friday, 15 minutes. I get the 3 to 4 top headlines of the day and little 3 to 4 story bits. And I hear the information I need to, and I still feel informed. I still get angry listening to the news, but I'm containing it to a certain time of my day. It's made a big difference for me. Huge. So that's tip number 1. In this time we're living in, a way to spiritually protect your energy is, while being informed, just limit how much information you take in. Because to a certain point, then we start consuming all this information and we start to feel helpless. And then we're just angry. Just take it in small doses to be informed enough. And then another tip, and this goes back to what I was saying, just remember, just recognizing that in everything that's going on this planet, and every person that's involved in all these problems, whether causing the problems or on the receiving end of the problems, these are all human souls. Whether you like them or not, whether you think they're evil or not, whether you think those people deserve that treatment from their government or from a government or not, these are all human souls. I was telling somebody today that even with the person in the public eye that I dislike the most, I recognize that there is a soul in that person. And one day, that soul is going to be in heaven next to me, because I don't believe in a hell. As someone who used to be told that my kind was going to hell, and then learning that that was wrong, who am I to say that someone else is going to go to hell? Because I may be wrong. So I believe we all go to the same place. I call it heaven. You can call it universal energy, the other side. I call it heaven. It doesn't mean we don't hold people accountable for their actions. Every soul is in a body that is making decisions. And some people decide not to listen to their souls. And that's where they turn to power. They turn to money. They turn to exploitation, separation, division. That is somebody not operating from the authenticity of their soul. And when we get into psychology, I'm no psychologist or therapist, y'all, but I've talked about inner child work. When someone is operating from that place of inauthenticity, there's a lot of inner child stuff involved there, in my personal opinion. There's so much healing that's needed there. And so when I see someone in the public eye who seems so, I just dislike them, I know that the reason they're acting the way they are is because somewhere along the line, their inner child, I just think, who hurt them as a child? And so why am I bringing this up? Going back to the tip I had, is recognizing everyone involved on this planet. Everyone on this planet is a soul. Everything has soul energy. And we can both recognize someone's dignity because they are a soul, and hold them accountable for the actions that they're taking. The problem is, in this day and age, people don't want to see that nuance. And so we turn to violence. We turn to hatred. We turn to this mentality, and no one says this, but we turn to this mentality of these people should not exist. And that gets dangerous. I always tell people, what do you want? These people to fall off the face of the earth and not exist? Unless you want to think that. We got to live together on this planet we call home. We got to live together in this country. And if you're going to think that way, that is dangerous thinking I do not want to go towards. I refuse to. As someone like myself who used to be the person, as someone like myself who used to be the kind of person that I totally disagree with today, ideologically, I've been there. And I think it's ridiculous thinking because I'm no longer that person. I love myself now. I was in a place of not loving myself when I thought so restrictively about spirituality, homosexuality. I was not loving myself. I was hating myself. And someone may have thought then that I shouldn't exist. But I changed. And here I am. And even with the way I am now, there are people who think that I shouldn't exist because I'm a gay psychic. Double whammy. I've said it before. I am double whammy now. Before I was a born again Christian wannabe heterosexual. Now I am, or heterosexual wannabe rather. Now I'm a gay ass psychic. Double whammy. What saddens me the most is we are in a state where there are some people out there who just don't want other people to exist. And I think the challenge is recognizing dignity. Excuse me. Start again. The challenge of being human right now is recognizing in every single human being dignity. Why do they have dignity? Because they exist. What they decide to do with that dignity, either acknowledging it, ignoring it, or exploiting it, that is what we hold them accountable for. But they have dignity. That, my friends, is what's keeping me sane right now. It is also what is, in a way, keeping me jaded. Because I used to be someone who was very political. I still am political. But I used to be like following political websites or Facebook pages, etc. And in the last 10 years, after the last 10 years of being so politically focused, I've gotten tired. I've gotten so tired. Now I'm jaded. I'm like, you know what? I am just going to sit back and watch. I'm just going to sit back and watch. That sounds lazy. Of course, if I feel inspired to protest, voice something, I will do it. But I'm like, you know what? I'm tired. And all I can do is I just want to take care of myself and the people I love and have community. I still vote locally, statewide, and nationally because I always will. But just the way that I invest my energy, my mental energy in all this has changed because I want to protect my energy. This goes back to being informed, but being conscientious of how much information you take in. So tip number 1, limiting the information overload to a point where you feel like it's manageable for you, but you're still being informed. And number 2, this is the hard one, I know, recognizing that every person on this planet is a soul being. And I'm just going to say it now, if you're someone who's like, absolutely not, I don't believe that person that is in the public eye has a soul. I don't believe they have dignity. I don't know what to tell you. It's just what I believe. And there is this idea, I've mentioned it before, of non playable characters, that there are some soulless people walking amongst us. And I'll say this again. It reminds me so much of what fundamentalist Christians say about us spiritual people, that we're all going to hell. We're useless because we don't believe in Jesus Christ as our Savior. So you're just going to hell. It's the same thing, people. It's the unsalvageable souls. It's the same thing, different language. So why is it okay as new agey woo-woo people to call people non-playable characters, soulless beings without dignity? Why is that okay? When it's not okay, we get all hissy when Christians talk about us like we are demonic because we believe in crystals and psychic mediumship. How are those two things different? As someone like myself who was once a fundamentalist Christian who believed that stuff, I'm telling you, it is the same thing. And it's not, I think personally, it's not cool. Tip number 3. Find your community. Given that there is this loneliness epidemic, right? At least in the Western world, the United States specifically, it's just more important than ever to find community in person. I'm part of a couple virtual communities, and someone was saying in one group that they really want to find more, like they're not having a hard time finding people to connect with, and they're like on the point of giving up. And I and someone else said, why don't you create the space? Create a group. You're looking for hiking, for bowling, create the group. But they're like, oh, no, I don't want to do that. I don't want to create a group. And that's fine. It takes a lot to create a space, right, for community. But there are so many different ways to create community. And I find that some people, they say they want to create community, but then they go out and they try to meet people, and then they close themselves off from people because they're not good looking enough. They're not smart enough. They're not dressed the right way. Or there's all these filters we put up. And look, we got to be smart and discerning. I'm not saying go out and make friends with some jerk. We're smarter than that. we're discerning beings, hopefully. But sometimes we say we want something. Then when we go out and have the opportunity, we create all these barriers to actually enjoying it because we have so much expectation of people. So open yourself up to creating community, to belonging to community. And let's get off our phones a little more, says the dude here talking, Juan, who was on his phone for hours while watching TV. I ain't perfect. You ain't perfect. But create those pockets of time where you're not using social media as much. This is not an advertisement, but I totally swear by this device called the Brick. It is, look it up. It's called the Brick. It's a gray brick that's magnetic. Put on your fridge, on some metallic surface, or just leave it on a counter. And in order to unblock apps on your phone, you have to go up to it physically and tap the brick. So when I went on my recent retreat to Easton Mountain, before I went, I blocked Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, Threads, and some other apps, like dating apps. And I blocked it. I went on my trip and I couldn't unblock it because I didn't have the brick with me. The brick was back at home. And that includes Instagram's website, Facebook's website, the website versions, and the app versions of the apps. Brilliant. And I use it all the time now. I use it when I go to work out. I turn off the social apps. I block them. When I go to the gym and I'm at the gym, I'm not with the brick, so I can't unblock them. Whatever you find that works for you, whether it's the brick thing or it's putting your phone down or putting your phone away out of sight when you're at dinner with somebody or dinner with your family, just try to connect more in person. Go to a bookstore, just wander a bookstore, be amongst people. And if you're not the kind of person that likes to be around people and still are looking for community, look for that community online. Reddit is pretty poppin', man. Reddit has so many sub communities that it's kind of incredible. whatever idea or thought you have, there's likely a subreddit for it. Reddit can also be a cesspool, so just be careful with that. It is the internet after all. But I think finding community is so important right now. And community doesn't have to be 10 people in a room. It could be one person you just talk to whom you trust. It could be 2, 3 people. It could be a small group, it could be a big group, a hobby. Finding community right now, especially if you feel like you're really bogged down by the news and by things going on, we are communal beings. We are meant to be in community with each other. And what's so important about that too is our soul journey is to learn from other people. We learn through experiences. By connecting with other people, we learn what really makes our soul rejoice. We learn new things about ourselves through other people. We learn what qualities we love. Maybe we learn qualities in other people that we want to emulate, that we actually want to inhabit ourselves. Like, oh, that person is really, I like how that person talks when they say hi to new people. I'm going to start doing that too. Our soul is learning. It's like, as a psychic medium, the way that spirit brings up cultural frames of references or symbols and ideas is because I've heard about those symbols or seen those symbols. I've heard about these ideas. I've had those experiences that spirit is bringing up in my own life. So spirit is bringing up my experience in a reading to share a message with the client. For example, not to go down this rabbit hole. Let's say, what's a good example? Okay, this is a really bad example. Spirit shows me I'm in a subway station. I'm in waiting for the subway, and I'm looking down at the tracks of the subway station. The tracks are dirty. They have rats. Sorry, all of you get queasy. They're dirty. They have rats, and it gets hot down there. And I share that. Like, okay, hey, your loved one is telling me they're bringing me to a subway station. I'm very familiar with that. I've been in subway stations. I look at the tracks. It's dirty. It's hot. It's muggy. There's rats. And they're bringing me like as if they've been in that situation before. Like either they've been in a subway station like that, or that's how they commuted, and they say, they haven't been in a subway station, but my grandpa hasn't been in a subway station. He didn't live anywhere where there was a subway, but he worked in a mine. That makes sense. He was underground all the time. There were rats. It was hot. That's what I'm saying, folks. By living and being a human being on this planet, by participating in the world, we are gaining so much, whether we're a psychic medium or not. We're gaining so much by being amongst people, by being amongst that one person whom you trust and love. So find community. Being of the world many times can be very tragic, scary, even traumatic for many of us. But with the right context and the right people, being of the world can be a beautiful learning experience for ourselves. So tip number 1, information overload, limit it. Set your boundaries as you need to for your information that you receive and intake in. Tip number 2, recognizing the dignity and the soul being in everything and everybody. Tip number 3, find your community. So I'm going to share with you something that's coming up for me that I haven't shared on this podcast. I think, have I? I don't know. I forget, y'all. I am, as you can tell, I'm very passionate talking about this stuff. And something that's been on my mind in the last few months is the idea of becoming a life coach. And it's something I may pursue in 2026. That's such a weird year to say out loud. I may pursue it in 2026 because I want people to feel good about the life they're living. I want people to be able to look forward in their life. And this is what I try to do with tarot card readings. It's something I hope happens after a mediumship reading, is I just want people to know, I want you to know, listener, how truly connected you are to the true essence of who you are, which is spirit, which is God. And then live your life knowing that. It's such a powerful place from which to live. And the reason I'm so passionate talking about this topic today is because we really owe it to ourselves to walk in this world knowing our true inner power, not the power that people give to us. That's nice sometimes. Oftentimes it is nice. Not the power that money gives us, not the power that a relationship gives us, the power we already have inside of us. And I really believe that if more of us on this planet recognize that power, the world would be a hugely better place. That's why I believe we all have the capacity to do that. It's a matter of whether we decide to. And that's why I believe in tip number 2 that I shared today. So I hope that this gives you some inspiration, this episode. And if it doesn't, I get it. I get it. Listen, self-help isn't always helpful. Sometimes we just got to be like, things are shit. It's okay. That is okay. There ain't nothing wrong with that. But you got to treat yourself. Treat yourself to taking care of yourself when you have the capacity to do so. I wish you a beautiful rest of your day, a beautiful rest of your week or weekend whenever you're listening to this. And I'm sending love to you. Take care. Follow the podcast and please leave a review. If you want me to talk about a specific subject on the podcast or you have a question for the podcast, go to juanfranciscospirit.com and go to my contact page and submit that question.